Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 16th episode of our Oreninc podcast series. I'm again joined by Mickey Fulp, the Mercenary Geologist, and our editor, Paul Harris. Hi, gents.
Morning,
Morning.
guys.
Hi. Morning. Yeah, it's great afternoon. It's just about to be dark here in Germany, where I am right now. It's actually looking kind of grim outside. Um, Grim, that's actually a really good conversation starter. Weeks ago we talked about the summer doldrums, or just recently summer doldrums. I call them now the fall and winter doldrums, because the market really hasn't woken up. We've seen a slight increase in the Oreninc performance numbers, or in our index numbers, but overall the sentiment is still, I wouldn't call it bearish, but let's say hesitant to get active again. Like investors are holding back, it seems. And we had a brief spike a couple weeks ago where we've seen a lot of bought deal financings, but that again has completely dried up. And Mickey or Paul and I, we all discussed ahead of the taping this podcast that a lot of companies are having issues filling their private placements right now. And it seems like I've just come back from London here as well. I was at the one-to-one conference, that a lot of companies are looking for financing, but they're having a hard time filling those placements, and it's taking longer than expected. I'm assuming, guys, you've seen and noticed the same, right?
Yeah, I would have to agree with that.
Absolutely. When I was speaking with Rick Rule a couple of weeks ago at the Colombia Gold Symposium, he said, money is available, but it's being very particular about where it goes and who it invests in. So for him, it's management primarily, good management with a proven track record, and then projects. We said, money is available, but it's being very, very particular about where it goes.
What are the sort of criteria? Because before taping, we talked about a couple deals that do have solid management teams and projects in jurisdictions that are quite favorable right now, but they're not seeing the money or the inflow, financing inflow, as they might have seen in the spring or late summer or early summer this year.
I think it has to do with the price of gold, and the things that I'm familiar with are new codes in gold space. And we're mucking around. We can't get to 1300. It hit 1294, 1295 overnight on Little Rocket Man's latest rocket. But it's fallen right back off this morning. It's now at 1287 on a stronger U.S. dollar.
But I think you're seeing, some bigger companies looking at making strategic investments. I mean, one announced this week was Barrick Gold investing in Reunion Gold, which is principally has exploration properties in the Guyanas. So it does seem to be sort of quite, I guess, fragmented could be a good word. Sort of key investors, very smart money is allocating or deploying, but that's not spread across the whole market, and not all the market seems to be participating.
Now, I just quickly want to touch on the price of gold again before going back to what you just indicated on or hinted on. Just today, I think the U.S. released a better GDP growth than expected at 3% for the third quarter, and the gold price just pretty much dropped from 1294 to 1284, just a $10 drop.
Yeah, you could look at it as the U.S. dollar index was up significantly too, something on the order of well, let me look here, a quarter of a point, actually, from 4/10 of a point from its 24-hour low and high. One of the things that we've recently published on is the correlation of gold and DXY, the US dollar. Since Trump was elected, we put that piece out on Monday. It's fairly eye-opening. We From the fact that there was no correlation before he was elected. From election day to inauguration day, a very high negative correlation. Then 5.5 months, no correlation. And now, since mid July, a very strong correlation, negative correlation of gold and the dollar index once again. So basically, as goes the dollar in an opposite way, so goes gold.
No, that's true, unfortunately. And one thing I think that's also weighing on a lot of stocks is still the ongoing tax loss selling. that's been happening for a while now. Or at least we pretend that to be the reason for some of the stocks, at least why they're under pressure, I think, and we haven't seen a recovery or at least stabilization in share prices. Do you agree?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. We've done a lot of work also about tax loss selling and timing of that and when to buy and sell in that paradigm. The one of the things I've noticed well, especially last week, was volumes on the venture exchange were up significantly, and they've fallen off a bit this week. Uh, but you've got to think that these volumes are largely driven by tax loss selling because the index it's been ticking up a bit, but it still remains very range bound and flat, somewhere in the 790 range right now.
Yeah, and I think another factor besides the tax loss selling is, I think, diversion or how you call that, investors' attention being diverted away from gold stocks, and I'm hinting here towards uranium as well. That's attracting a lot of the attention. I do not want to talk about Bitcoin and blockchain companies, having emerged here on the scene. I really want to talk about uranium here because I think that's attracting quite a bit of investor attention as well.
Well, I would have to agree with that. And for those that don't follow uranium story, a couple of weeks ago, Cameco shuttered its McArthur River mine and the Key Lake Mill in the Athabasca Basin of Saskatchewan. This was the largest and the lowest cost conventional mine in the world's largest uranium mine, but a low cost mine with all in cost somewhere around in the low $20 range. But with a $20 spot price, they were losing money. And so they put it on care and maintenance, laid off 800 workers, minimum of a 10-month shutdown. And this is a supply destruction of 10% of the uranium market. You add that with Kazakhstan cutting production, 4% of world production about 6 months ago. Significant less amount of uranium coming to market. We've got 9 new Japanese restarts scheduled for Q1 2018, 56 new plants being built worldwide. So there's finally light at the end of the tunnel, if you will, in uranium space. But I would say that we've got a long way to go. Need to get to $40 a pound for low-cost ISR projects to restart. And the spot price went up as high as the upper $25 range. There's been some market manipulation. It's gone back down, it's come back up, currently about $24 a pound. So it's a start, but we're a long ways away.
No, that's I think month over month, I think we're up 25%, but it's just a drop in the bucket from what I've been seeing here. So, and you're absolutely right. I think we'll need way higher prices for more supply to come online.
Agreed.
So, at the end of our podcast, we always come up with a number of the week, and we talked about tax loss selling, we talked about uranium. I think these are the two main topics that that keep investors busy these times. Let's talk about the number of the week. Paul, why don't you start us off? And I'm quite curious to hear which one you picked this week.
Okay, well, I'm going to sort of stick with the energy theme, but looking at sort of lithium. As you guys know, I sort of follow lithium a lot, and so Oreninc data year to date, the total funds raised for lithium companies or lithium projects is about 433 million Canadian dollars in 67 transactions. So lithium companies have been able to raise money this year, even if other companies in other sectors have struggled.
Interesting. Yeah, no, the data is coming from me, but you've compiled it just recently. I think you're doing some research on that lithium side, right?
Correct. Yeah, I do a lot of research on lithium. Yeah.
So, Mickey, what's your number?
My number is less than 3%, and that's the uranium supply from U.S. mines that will be supplied to U.S. nuclear reactors this year. So 97% of our uranium will be imported. from Canada, Australia, and a number of other countries, including Russia and Kazakhstan, that are not particularly friendly or stable or have corrupt governments.
Interesting. I thought it was a higher number, to be honest. So that
Well, it has been higher, and it's dropped precipitously this year. We're looking at about 1.5 million pounds this year. Pre-Fukushima, it had gone up to 5 million pounds a year.
wow. Yeah, I remember in New Orleans we were both at the conference. Tucker Carlson, I think that was the dominating topic of his talk there as well, the uranium supply and how I think it was uranium one that was sold to a Russian conglomerate back in I think 2009.
Yeah, that's big news in the States, and some big players in the Vancouver mining scene involved with that scandal. So.
Yeah, really curious to see how that one kind of turns out. My number of the week. It's December 15th. That's when I sit down and reevaluate all my holdings in the newsletter here at the Investor Magazine or my personal holdings and see if any of the stocks have bottomed yet. And I think it's time to buy because if seasonality teaches us anything, the first 3 months of the year are the best ones to be invested.
I'll agree with that take too.
Good stuff.
No, that's December 15th is marked with a red circle in my calendar. I'll be back in my office. I'll be done with traveling for the year and I'll have time to do some revaluations of stocks. So I think it'll be really interesting and I hope other people will do the same.
I'm probably front running you on that idea. So.
Yeah, travel's getting in the way there. But December 15th, that's when I see. I don't mind being a day later too, but I really want to see an initial bottom before moving into anything. So I don't mind missing a couple percentage points.
Yeah, the bottom day last year was December 20th.
Yeah, so
it will be 2 to 3 days on either side of December 15th.
Oh, you'll never hit the exact bottom. So that's the thing as well. No, gentlemen, thanks again for your time. I think this was a really informative podcast. Mickey, I will see you in Nevada on Sunday, and Paul, we'll be chatting very soon as well. As always, thanks for your time, and let's talk soon. I'm looking forward to the next episode.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, guys.